I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, October the 27th, brought to you in part by Sweet Pro. Sweet Pro blocks boost fertility, improve herd health, and allow calves to gain more pounds on pasture. Use them in your weaning program. Go to sweetpro.com. Cash is coming around, and finally, and the board was up again on Tuesday, and we were expecting the board to be gangbusters beginning this week, and Monday it was higher, kind of disappointed. Tuesday is about that much higher again, which has now gained back what we lost just on Friday. But most people think that kind of a steadily higher board is a little more bullish and a little more stable than bouncing around like a yo-yo and hitting limit moves and all that kind of thing. But we're positive, that's for sure. But cash has really been more impressive both on fat cattle and feeders so far this week than your board really has, and that's where the rubber meets the road, is on your cash trade. We had some of the highest prices we've seen in a long time in feeder cattle auctions on Tuesday. They look like they're going to continue to go higher, and it's more significant because we're seeing it in the face of all these calves. Now, there's not many yearlings around, and the yearlings are bringing the most impressive prices, and they should be because the supplies are short of them. But these calves are selling really well also, and there's a world of them moving. And the big thing I've been talking about, and that's what everybody's talking about, is there's just not enough trucks around, but they're still bringing a big price. And we've seen your packers come out early this week, and they've already tipped their hand that they're short bought. We've been talking about that. They haven't been ganging up on the near-term future delivery purchases, so they're not in quite as good a shape filling the little bit of needs that aren't already promised to them through grid cattle and formula cattle and the all important negotiated grid that really doesn't have any negotiation to it. But they're having to buy some cattle. They're getting aggressive out there buying cattle in the auctions and also in the early little bit of direct trade that we've seen. We saw that early on Tuesday morning. We had reports of a big string of heifers in Nebraska that bring 129 delivered. I'm not exactly sure how much it cost that was going to be to deliver those, but probably not more than $1.50 or $2. Well, that's higher than what we've seen for quite a while. So we're pretty stoked on what the market could be this week. Guys just have to ask more for the cattle and hold out for them and get a bigger price there. But stick at your board on Tuesday. October live cattle futures up $1.80 at 126.82. December up $1.92 at 131.45. Your back months were all higher and about the same amount too on your live cattle contracts, up $1.12 to up 162. Feeders were higher also, not so much your nearby spot October because it's just kind of lining up here with your cash index levels as we get to the very tail end here of October. But October feeder cattle were up 35 cents at 155.97. That's right in there tight with what your index levels are. November up 130 at 159.77. So just in November we're seeing a significant premium to what cattle are bringing right now. So we can expect what we're seeing, that these feeder cattle are going to continue to increase in value. Going to have to get those calves weaned, those guys. Your back months of your feeder cattle up 75 cents to up 205. So impressive gains on your futures market. Your fat cattle trade, I've already told you guys, it's pretty active out there. They're running around, they're looking at cattle, they're beating on doors, they're stirring the pot a little bit. Something's going to happen. The whole complexion of it, the atmosphere, is just different than what it's been for a long time. And even though we haven't seen a whole lot of trade yet, it's going to be higher, and you guys got to bull up and force the market higher, make the market instead of taking the market. But Iowa didn't have any confirmed sales on Tuesday, although there was a lot of inquiry at $2 dress, so that's significantly higher than what we've seen it. They likely could get more than that. Nebraska had 1,100 head confirmed, had a few cattle bring 126 live, which is at the extreme top of what last week's price range was, and then that big string of heifers bring 129 delivered. Kansas didn't have any trade, but Texas did. helped out with the Consolidated Beef Producers cash pool, which they put together. $100 or $1.25, so that's another buck higher than the last cash pool we had there a couple of weeks ago, and then had bids of 124 and a quarter and 124.60 that didn't get the cash pool, but there was 66 head altogether, including those cash pool cattle in Texas. Had some pretty significant trade for this early in the week in Texas, direct basis at 124, and then that's on the positive side, guys. Talk about your fat cattle auctions. Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota. That's our biggest and best fat cattle auction that we have up there in the northern plains. And you think, well, how many cattle do they really have, you know, in the fat cattle auction there? They had 2,100 overnight fat cattle in Yankton. That's significant, 2,100. There's weeks they don't buy 2,100 in the whole Texas Panhandle. So right there in one location, good fat cattle. Market was $2 to $3 better. The conventional or commodity type fat cattle, although they'd be top quality, sell them from $124.75 to $127.75, and then they always get a lot of those drug-free and non-implanted fat cattle, and they sold as high as $131 and a quarter. So market's better. I told you about some little sales in the Midwest that we're selling, not droves of them, not loads, but ringfuls of them up to 134, 135. Your top sales out east in your fat cattle auctions in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, are nearing 150 on top quality fat cattle. So we've got room to grow here, guys. Box beef cutout values were kind of mixed. On Tuesday, choice cuts $284.76, up $1.72. Selects down 65 at $262.54. Your slaughter is already starting to leave a week ago and a year ago in a dust, and we're only through Tuesday. But 244,000 cattle slaughtered so far for the week through Tuesday. That's 3,000 better than last week, 9,000 better than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Our new sponsor, Hashi Insurance, and I hope some of you guys got a hold of Steve there, up there in Lake Preston, South Dakota, but don't worry about his location. He can help you wherever you're at. He specializes in crop insurance, life insurance, and your ag policies like livestock risk protection and your pasture, rangeland, and forest policies that protect you against lack of participation or precipitation. And we can probably expect that like we have, you know, every year and do, but it allows you to sleep at night, guys. So get a hold of Hashi Insurance at hashiinsurance.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, or before I do that, I want to tell you guys about a speaking engagement I had, basically a feeder flash gang rally that we had just kind of southwest of St. Louis, Missouri, in Pacific, Missouri, which is basically just a suburb, but it wasn't always. And gosh, we had a nice crowd there, a lot of good people, good food. I want to thank Boehringer Ingelheim and Vitafirm for being sponsors on that. There were some other sponsors on there, but we held that at the awesome Haw Valley wedding venue and event center there, owned by Bill McLaren. He's a cattleman. He's got cattle turned out in some little pastures around this outstanding venue, and city people coming out there from St. Louis to get married. And he says they all want to take pictures with the cows, and you can imagine that. But that's a positive thing that you can relate to city people or people that don't normally get to be around things like that. Doing it right there at that wedding venue, and whenever they cater it in, they serve his beef, his home-raised beef right there. So had a really good time in Pacific, Missouri there on Tuesday night. But your feeder cattle market in your sales on Tuesday, look at your real-time index on DB auction. Late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 155.13. That was 41 cents higher than Monday's close there, so we can see the gains there, although there's droves of calves. And a lot of those bigger calves are sneaking into the index because they're weighing over 700 pounds, but still gaining ground there, you know, with some big fat calves weighting it down a little bit. But we got a positive market out there. And listen to some of these quotes I'm going to give you all around the circuit. How about a Tuesday market we can kind of rely on for a trend? Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri. You have 1,300 through the ring, or no, excuse me, they had 2,300 through the ring and 1,300 on the in-house video that they do with help from DV Auction. But man, they get along good with that. But through the ring, steers $4 to $8 higher, heifers $2 to $4 higher. Going to give you a quote on their in-house video. They had 170 head of steer calves for December delivery. They were good kind, weigh 600 pounds. They're local cattle out of Missouri, bring 175.50. And that just goes to show you get a little bit of time on those cattle are going to bring even more than they're bringing right now. How about Philip the Giant? They had 6,000 head of feeder cattle there, Philip, South Dakota. Get along really good there. Your best tested weights, which was mostly your 4 and 5 weight calves, $2 to $5 higher than last week. Look at your best tested weights on this automated market report from Cattle Market Central. 966 head of 4-weight steer calves, average 466 at 195.74. 1,845 head of 5-weight steer calves, average 554 pounds with a weighted average price of 179.70. 583 head of your 6-weight steer calves, average 638 with an average price of 171.23. And on the best tested weights of heifers, 859 head of the girls, average 536 at 163.82. Stick out deal on some steer calves and Philip was 92 head, 640 pound steer calves, bring 177.50. Wow. They can sell them in the Southern Plains too. How about Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, out there in no man's land, out on the eastern edge of the Oklahoma Panhandle there. 58 head, 909 pound feeder steers, yearlings, bring 159.60. How about Kingsville Livestock Auction? Kingsville, Missouri. Kingsville, Missouri is just a little village there. I mean, doesn't amount to anything, but that sale sits south and east of Kansas City there, and they do a really good job. The Anstein family there, all good friends of mine, and man, did they have some good cattle in there and bring top billing. Look at these loads of cattle from Kingsville. All of those are impressive, but you look at the most impressive 7-weight load on there, 70 head of them, weighed 712 pounds at 174, weighing in the 7s, guys. And then the bottom 2 loads there were the Varner cattle out of Odessa, Missouri. 61 head, weighed 854 at 165, and another load right off of them, 61 head, weighed 841 at $166. Can they sell them down in the Southeast? Yes, they can when they get them. And people complain about the Southeast, said, well, they sell them one at a time. We can't get the big prices. Well, try selling them one at a time in Bassett, Nebraska. You're not going to get the big prices, or Ogallala, Nebraska, or Oklahoma City. You sell them one at a time, you don't get anywhere near the market. In the Southeast, you can get top of the market for one head. But on some of these sales, these regional sales in the Southeast, they get loads in there and they bring big money when they come in. How about I-40 Livestock in Ozark, Arkansas? Had 67 head of steers, weighed 773, bring $158. That's nothing to sneeze at, guys. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, and your Zach Tran top quote for the day, come out of Lolly Brothers Livestock Market in Macon, Missouri. Grass yearlings, 64 head of them, weighed 823 pounds at $168.85. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.